In the video for the first part, I asked not to read it. Now I have to repeat myself and ask you not to read The Hotel of Suffering. When I first read it, I had mixed feelings. Rather, even I just didn't like the manga. When I reread it for the second time, I realized that the story had, in general, gone to me. Yes, there are conventions that you just need to accept in order to like manga. The same author wrote the sequel, but the artist drew a different one. Mangaka set himself a goal to surpass his previous work, and he succeeded. He surpassed himself in everything, starting with the cruelty, the narrative component, and ending with the stupidity of some moments. I don't recommend reading this manga, especially to impressionable people. If in the last video I could not tell or show some things, then in the second part there were more of these things. Cruelty, for sure. I don't know how I'm going to verbally veil, therefore, warn of a possibility of Kringleback tracks. Plus, I want to warn you in advance that most of everything related to Rei with this character will simply not be in the retelling. If you are on this channel for the first time, then first I recommend that you familiarize yourself with the first part of the Killer Instinct. Before I begin, I ask you to support this video with your like and subscribe. It really motivates me to do new videos. So, 3 years have passed since Kodoku's behavior. Manga begins with the fact that at an abandoned old school, where Kodoku from the first part took place, he finds the body of a child with an eaten belly. The police are already investigating, and are focusing our attention on the fact that quite recently, the main character of the last part, Saiga Reiji, had to be discharged from the hospital. Then, the author reminds us what kodoku is, that is, when a bunch of insects are placed in some kind of container. And they fight until there is only one survivor left. The last survivor becomes the basis for the curse. Then there is a meeting of our heroes, during which they get acquainted. They are all members of the occult club, who want to recreate kodoku for fun. They go to an abandoned love hotel. I represent our main characters, Agnes, Michika. Rin and Rai are fraternal twins. Careful, by the way, the blonde has a catch. After the heroes drive up to the abandoned building, they get acquainted with the unusual, so to say, local Eiji and Katsuya. Having distributed the keys to the rooms, the heroes gather for a meal. Their Amy tells a horror story. A child died. He used to smile in all the photos, but after death, the face in the photo began to change into a grimace of terrible agony. The psychic, looking at these photos, said that it was because the child was suffering in hell. Then the narrator admits that this case is true, and it happened to her sister. Then our heroes discuss the body found with the eaten belly, which flows into the topic of Saiga Reiji. Agnes suggests that Reiji might have somehow found out that the guys decided to hold a make-believe kodoku and therefore decided to join them. That is, that Sigura could be one of them. Everyone starts to disperse. One of those strange guys who joined the occult club, already in the love hotel, makes a greasy comment of a girl. His friend takes him away and then throws him on the floor. Are you really stupid? What is incomprehensible in the phrase not to attract attention? He says to him. Then he opens the door of one of the rooms and we see a half-naked girl on a chain. Eiji begins to wash the prisoner. Katsuya asks to be fucked. Meanwhile, at 2 o'clock in the morning, Michiko wakes up and goes somewhere. Katsuya is still bullying the prisoner. Here I will omit some of the highlights of sexual violence, abolishes that this scene is here to show that Katz is an animal. On the next page we see the silhouette of a man hanging on chains. So morning came. The characters meet and start a small talk. The guys notice that Amy is late for breakfast and decide to go check on her. They find her naked with a paper bag on her head and suspended from the ceiling. Needles are inserted into the girl's chest. They take her off, peel off the tape from her mouth, and the girl spits out the crumpled panties that were in her mouth. Then Agnes begins to pull out the needles. To the question what happened, she says she doesn't remember. At night, someone snuck in and immediately closed her eyes. Agnes concludes that she is similar and also drugged with something. The girl assumes that this is Kacha, since he harassed her and in the process told her to securely close the door. Agnes suggests stopping the fake kodoku. Michika insists on continuing, saying that the most interesting thing has begun, and offers to tell the guys they met yesterday at the abandoned building, I quote, so that they don't do it anymore. Earlier, by the way, they hung the locks on the doors themselves so that the tub turned out to be more realistic. Now they notice that there are even more of these castles now. Michiko says that it was done by the same guys they met yesterday so that the members of the occult club would not run away. And as he says this, he starts laughing. Nevertheless, everyone understands that it is necessary to run away. To get out, they decided to search the hotel in search of a key to the new locks. They began their search from the basement. Rei sticks to Eiji under the pretext of fear. They say, in this hotel, after all, a man committed suicide. Mitch says it was a woman. She dropped from the 4th floor, room 406. The room which stopped these two. Katsuya turned pale, Eiji kept his face, and asked where the other guys were looking around. Michik replies that he is on the 4th floor and most likely started with room 406. AG immediately grabs Michik and he promises with a mysterious face that the guys will not touch their things. AG rushes up my legs. In his room, he meets another group who freed their captive. He says it's a misunderstanding, but stupid Katsu immediately starts shouting that they just managed to lock her up and won't let the girl be released. AG hits Agnes and then threatens to kill everyone else. Then he commands the stupid one to bring those who are missing, and especially Amy. The bandits are lining everyone up. They take the master key from Agnes and Amy orders them to undress. They are surprised that she has plasters on her chest, but she will still start groping the girl. AG then commands Agnes to come closer and sleep with Sammy. Suddenly, the twins fly into battle at the bandits, but immediately get slapped in the face. AG demands Ray to hit Rin to teach a lesson, otherwise he will do it himself. Ray obeys because most likely AG's blow would have been several times stronger. Then the bandit returns to Agnes and Amy. V asks to stop, but hears only the question of who he would like. 6 doesn't answer, but looks at the liberated captive. AG commands to start, the guy does not resist. Agnes, meanwhile, thinks that the one who is not the first time is better than it will be Amy, and immediately catches herself on this thought. The bandits start laughing because 5 doesn't have an erection. AG then distributes all the rooms. Now Agnes and Amy will be in one, Michik and the twins in the other. AG takes all the food and will issue myself. The stairs will be under Katsuya's control. It is forbidden to leave the floor. AG's plan is to make them accomplices in this crime so that even if they escape, they will not go to the police. But at the same time, he realizes that perhaps overdone. We switch to Agnes and Amy. They are trying to understand why they were so divided. Agnes then asks at night if the same thing was done to her. Amy thinks not. Agnes suggests that they did not attack her and notices that AG was surprised to see the puncture on his chest. Amy asks what happens if it really turns into a kodoku. The guy replies that hypothetically it's already kodoku. Then Amy says that something needs to be done with AG. Agnes says that you need to pull myself together and that he'll think of something. Meanwhile, in the 406th room, Vi complains that he did not ejaculate. He tries to talk to the captive girl, but she is asleep. Then he starts harassing her. The girl calls him impotent and drives him away. We are transported to the room of Mitch and the twins. They discuss what happened. Then Michika notices that they are concerned that they will not be able to cope with AG, but not that they will have to kill someone. Then there is an offer to try to negotiate. Michik promises that he will try to do it in the morning. And then he shows us his true face. He's not going to solve this situation. He wants to see them all go crazy here. When he was looking for a place to conduct a pseudo-shock, he noticed these two before. And already now everyone is starting to lose their nerves a little bit. He enjoys it. He enjoys that everything is going according to his plan. Michiko starts masturbating. The morning begins with swearing. AG and Michiko got hooked. The first one demands to tell who hung more locks on the door, because of which no one can get out anymore. Second confesses that are involved, but he had hung up, and only one made it to enhance the atmosphere kodoku. He doesn't know about the other locks. During the conversation, also referred to the case of Amy. The bandits are not involved. The conversation is going on in front of everyone, so now it's no longer a secret. Then V starts accusing Michik. The guy denies assault. Agnes and Michik ask AG to talk. Agnes says there's a way out. Soon will come a guard that checks this place. Then he says that he knows about the plan to make them accomplices in a sexual crime in order to close their mouths. But then what about the girls? That is, guys, they make accomplices, but no girls like confidence that they will not go to the police later then. He offers ingenious idea to use the concept Reiji Sigura, that is, the concept of an unknown attacker, which will attack to frighten. And two our boys have become in their eyes defenders. Supergenial Agnes' supergenial plan impresses supergenial AG. It is commanded by the author of the idea again to collect them all in a room. Finally, AG tells the taps that they are similar. The second one immediately demonstrates his shizu. When everyone has gathered, AG pulls on a friendly mask, offers alcohol to his new friends, and tells a fable about the attacker. With a call to stick together now. It will take time, but the watchman will have to come soon. Supplies enough, so they're going to throw a party. At the party, Agnes drunk. The captive, who was kept here initially, AG apologizes for not feeding earlier. At the same time, AG thinks that he will use Reiji to cover up her murder, after which he will feed her to the others. But then suddenly he, and everyone else, passes out. He wakes up in BDM, pose, stripped to Trinku with a blindfold, with chains that fetter the whole body, and gagged. Around everyone else. Nobody is going to release AG. Michika admits that AG shared with him a plan to kill the girl and feed it to someone from the occult club. An unknown attacker got rid of AG, but lost Katsu. Meanwhile, we find out that all the water was thrown on the floor. Agnes took the bottles and began to drain the crumbs that were left on the plates. The guys disperse. Someone goes to look for Katsu. The girls go to check their clothes, and Michika remains to guard AG. Amy shares her belongings with the prisoner. In addition to things, she also shares her wisdom, saying that you should not trust others to choose for you. The captive notices the needles that were once in Amy's chest. Thinking out loud, Katsu could have done it with AG, having some kind of fight with him. They understand that the guard can wait 2 weeks. All their water has been spoiled, although there is still food. In other words, the story is the opposite of the first katak. Not only in plot construction and its transmission through visual images, but also in that they have food. But there is practically no water, and it is more difficult here, since a person without water will live plus or minus 5 days. Then they remember that they have a water tank in the building. The water has been there for about 5 years, but you can try to boil it. That's what they do. Is it possible to drink such water? They give it to test AG. The captive pours boiling water right into his mouth. Mechik says that it is unknown how much more will run out of gas and is now offering to share food. The captive volunteers to keep an eye on AG. Immediately, she accuses 5 of harassing her. The guy sings that it's because AG said she likes it tough. Well, maybe that counts as consent in Japan, but come on. Then the girl breaks down and says that one of them may be the one who arranged all this. The twins leave. Everyone agrees that they will meet at noon. 5 goes to bed. Agnes finds a strange notebook with her pseudonym and inscription. I can't enchant him. On the next page is Agave Junji. This is the name he had previously called the dark-haired twin. Despite the fact that he only called this name to her, Agnes is surprised and wonders who it could be, her or AG. Rin sneaks up from behind, and he hands her a notebook with the words that someone left in his room. In response, the creep Madama smiles with all her 30 teeth. The guy starts to apologize for reading it, even though the notebook was in his room. Agnes tells about what happened to the sword, and he laughs at him, saying that now they should meet. Agave Jun also says that he also inserted a note asking for help into the hole between the doors. Dialogue develops into someone who is the most suspicious. Mitch says they're twins. Agnes says that his friend is suspicious because he hid the story with keys, locks, and other things. Michiko says that if he is so suspicious, then let Agnes stay with him at night and make sure that he behaves well. He agrees, at least because Katsuya is still at large. Hands tied some sheets together and laid on the bed. Michika assumes that Katsu and someone can give orders, and Agnes thinks about Rei. Red is in V's room right now, saying he's worried about him. The guy doesn't understand why everyone blames him, even though it's AG's fault. Gemini gives him some kind of thing, thanks to which he will supposedly become calmer. We are transported to the 4th floor, where a prisoner is lying on the bed with a bound AG, hugging him and licking needles. It comes in the morning. Michiko chases Agnes away. The second one immediately meets both of them with dark hair outside the door. Along the way, he sees a sitting man, whom he mistakes for Zabi. Approaching, he realizes that it is Katsu. He was strangled with barbed wire. The head of a venomous centipede protruded from the gouged eye. Michika starts filming Katsu on camera. He shows his side, wondering when his eyes were squeezed out, during life or after death. Everyone shows that they no longer think like people. V immediately puts forward his theory of how he was killed. The twins offer to hide the corpse. Menshika suggests aloud who of those present could have done it. Then he himself becomes a victim of accusations. Except he has an alibi. He spent the whole night with Agnes. The former captive does not want to stay with them and goes upstairs to the bound AG, warning in advance that if at least someone pokes into her room, she will attack immediately. Michik is supported by her fear, saying, continuing to add fuel to the fire, that they cannot trust each other. The captive upstairs informs the bound AG that Kacha has died. All this time, using the same needles, she was tormenting the BDM captive. Still faintly understanding what is happening, he asks for a drink. The captive is placed over his face and gives him a drink of urine juice. AG asks to remove at least the bandage from her face to see the face of the former captive. In response to this, the girl begins to play with needles again, starting from his neck and ending with what is below the waist. AG's backstory begins. I don't see any point in going into details. AG is a bandit who beat money out of other people and was popular with women because he is handsome. And once, because of him, the girl broke up with herself. It's basically everything you need to know. While the prisoner is on top, AG is thinking about Katsu. More precisely, what his friend is doing and when he will come to save him. Amy comes to Agnes to talk. They discuss Katsuya's murder and motives. Agnes plays the card of Reiji, who supposedly wants to recreate kodoku again. Amy believes and says that then they should all be together. He says that outside the window there is someone. This is Rin, who eavesdrops on their dialogue, assuming that she likes him a little and emphasizing that he has already rejected her. Agnes is going to talk about the Gothic with Ray. Ray comments that it is difficult for her sister to find a common language with people, but promises to talk to her anyway. Michiko and Agnes go to the basement, where they find out that the wires and wire cutters have disappeared somewhere. There they see glass armor with the protective rods. Agnes still trying to break her, but then again his appearance scares Rin. She gently hands him a note. She apologizes for scaring him and informs him that she will be waiting for him in the 205th room in the evening. Meanwhile, Michika admires the pictures of the murders, saying that it was a great idea to involve Katsumi and Eiji in the story. We are transported upstairs. A captive who has gone, who does not get enough of playing with needles, suddenly screams. This is Katsuya. His friend's body was in front of the door. Eiji calls a friend for help. Taking advantage of the girl's panic, the prisoner promises that if she aunties him, then he and Katsu will be able to protect her, insisting that other guys cannot be trusted. After all, they came here precisely for the purpose of holding Kodoka. Realizing the extent of the former captive's insanity, Eiji loses the look of a confident guy and finally begins to ask for help. The captive drags those locations and removes the blindfold from Eiji's eyes. Thrusting her fingers into the empty eye sockets, she lifts her dead friend by the head and brings him to Eiji's face, saying, "His eyeballs are gone." That's fun, isn't it? The distraught woman takes off his pants and bites off the genital organ. Then she turns to Eiji and says she wants to give birth to him. With these words, she does the same thing to Eiji. The whole occult club is gathered downstairs. Former prisoner to them upstairs. They pay attention that those locations have disappeared somewhere and that the tracks lead up. While the others talk about the reasons, Mitch is happy about the circumstances and the fact that deep down, they are all enjoying what is happening. Amy suggests that everyone get together and eat like on the first day. After the meal, Amy suggests that we get together again at 6 o'clock in the evening. Finally, Junji asks everyone to pair up for safety. Everyone is leaving. Ray approaches V. What happens next with him, I will keep silent, only noting that Vi enters into a slave contract with Ray. Rin is sitting in a room where Ag's name is scrawled and that she loves him. Well, here we have the backstory of Ray and Rin. In short, Rin was an outcast at school, which was considered strange. She was fond of the occult, was not a beauty. Just low social skills and desires for love. The twins supported her, agitating to make up and complaining that he also wanted to. After putting on makeup, Ray comes to the classroom, where there was only one guy sitting. The guy who liked Rin and who spoke ill of her. In the last frame, a grinning face asks if this guy is with a virgin. After that, Ray leaves school. And we are shown that, having succumbed to the influence of a fashionable verdict, Ray's image was changed and used to get everything she wants. Ray is already a member of the occult club and says it would be nice if Rin joined. Taking the Gemini's phone, the gothic girl starts chatting, and this led her to fall in love with Agnes. And in the present, in another room, Vi is outraged by what happened, but in response, he receives a promise that they will come to him in the evening. Mechik continues to pour on the nerves of others that it's all kodoku, as Yukitosha bequeathed. Then everyone departs again. Amy volunteers to look after the first floor. Junji refuses. Well, Avi in his room realizes that he has fewer and fewer supplies. Despite the fact that Vi and Ray's earlier communication traumatized the first one, he is still waiting for the appearance of the twin. But Amy is waiting for him outside the door. She came to ask him to come to the meeting. V doesn't want to, because Agnes and Mitch laugh at him all the time. Amy says she worries about everyone, including Six. It breaks through that he's so detached because of Amy and Ray. Amy admits that she is in the same situation because of the recording of their kiss. Amy apologizes to Six that they shunned him and put his hand on top of his hands. Vi perceives this as a green light and begins to harass. Amy is against a couple of frames, and then she doesn't mind. Meanwhile, Agnes meets Rin. She apologizes to the guy and shows a note that says, "I didn't want to scare you, I just never had friends. Please don't hate me." Agnes relents and says it's okay. The coitus in V's room has already ended. He thanks Amy, and Amy replies that Agnes would never do that, and then asks him if he will come to the meeting tomorrow. He makes a promise, and, overjoyed, Amy leaves. But One Vi does not stay in the room, because Reese immediately appears with a bottle of alcohol. 5 blurts out that Amy was in the room. Then he gets a real order. Never talk to other women. As an argument to the order, Reed pulls out a camera. V snatches it out of his hands and smashes it. But this is not a panacea, a compromising video on a flash drive, not in a camera. When Ray's vigilance has been euthanized, he pulls a shoelace from his hood and kills Ray by strangling her. V runs to Amy and says that he broke the camera, but it remains to find the SD card, and then it is realized that he killed Ray. Immediately, he starts blaming Amy for everything, shifting the blame on her. She's going to go and check on the body. She asks V to join her, because she might lose consciousness from what she saw. They move the body to Ray's room, thinking about what will happen if the police take over. V lowers his image even lower, blaming Amy, and asking her to testify in his favor. V takes all the food for herself. Amy has the flash drive. Remembering that Ray still has the camera, 5 returns. In the corridor, he meets Michik, and the second one draws attention to the fact that this is not his floor. After escaping, 5 is glad that now he has more food and has a pretty girl. Everyone meets downstairs in the morning. Ray is not there, so the company wants to go check. Without burning, Vi also shows a desire to check. Ray's in bed, but there's nothing under the sheet. In other words, only the head remained. Agnes realizes that Rin saw what was happening. Michik tries to get a better look at what angers Junji. He asks him to take the others out of the room. Outside, Mitch says Agnes probably has an alibi. During the conversation, they notice that there is no food in Ray's room, and that the one who has it is to blame. During the discussion of how this happened, Michika turns to Vi and asks where the hood is. Immediately, he switches to the leader, asking how he will look for the criminal and offers to check V's room. 5 catches tilt and runs away, everyone after him. Catch up before the door, they see that 6 in a major key. To the question from where, the guy replies that when they were all put to sleep, someone put it in his pocket. Flying inside, Agnes turns over all the things. First, he wants to know V's identity, but there are no IDs. Then he asks directly, "Who are you really?" We first unlocks, and then says his name is Sakiyama Shingo. Agnes says that judging by the fact that they both smelled of alcohol, Ray and Shingo were hanging out together. In short, all excuses collapse like a house of cards. The last bunch in the coffin of trust, Food Ray. V admits that they met from time to time, but refuses to admit guilt in the murder. Vi turns the arrows to Michika and disappears behind the doors. Agnes is going to keep the key to herself. At the same time, he says that he is sure that 5 killed Ray and Katsu and hung Amy. While the dialogue is developing, Agnes suddenly explodes due to Michiki's reaction in front of Rin. Amy stops him. To the question, what are we going to do with Vi? Junji suggests taking a break. Now he's not sure it's Vi anymore. Rin looks at Ray's body. Michika notices that it's creepy that her sister's face doesn't change now. Agnes takes her by the hand and offers to relax together in another room. When the dark-haired man is left alone, he immediately uncovers his camera. Suddenly, Junji visits him again and asks with a serious face, "Didn't Mi-chan create kodoku?" Michik does not deny that he is amused by what is happening, but assures that he is not the killer. Amy comes to V, who immediately interrogates her where the body went. The girl says she doesn't know. He says he can only trust her. But then she asks, "Vi, is it Reiji in quotes or not?" V replies that it's not him and he's never killed anyone. He asks her to take responsibility for the murder and starts harassing her again. When the girl says the name Agnes, Vi explodes and enters into a sexual relationship with her. Amy doesn't deny it. A flashback appears in which we see that she had a husband. There she says that she will soon become a mother. But on the next page, we learn that the child has encephalopathy, that is, brain damage. The doctors insist on an abortion, but she refuses and believes that she is obliged to become a mother. After contact with 6, Amy goes in the room Michiki. In general, the guy knows everything about what is happening with Amy and not in collusion. He has the flash drive, and he watches as the flower of innocence is hidden by Vi. Mi-chan says it's all for Agnes, because if it's really kodoku, then he could be the next target. Mitch asks why Amy is so worried about Agnes. The girl admits that the story earlier about a child who, after death, had a joyful face in the picture distorted by agony, is actually about her. And she adds that Junji looks like her ex-husband. Michika tells her not to date V anymore. When she asks what happened to Ray's body, Michin orders her to undress, sentences her, and does not want Agnes to die. Amy undresses. Late in the evening, Agnes returns to her room after her rounds. Above the rustle, he goes to the source of the sound, where he finds Rin, who has put her hand in the drain pipe. He is about to leave when the gothic girl stops him. June turns around, hugs the twin and promises that she will pull her out, and then they will mourn Ray together. All meeting in the lobby. Thinking again about the method of murder, they discuss to the Mitch from the first part that Reiji survived by feeding on her. Dark-haired Michin says it's possible Reiji wasn't just eating, and then says the same thing could have happened to her. Agnes pushes Mitch, accusing that there is nothing human about him, stating that we need to get out as soon as possible, before they all finally go crazy. Amy says that she agrees with Junji, and then the cowardly Vi begins to resist. Is it possible to trust him? You're in charge here, but you haven't achieved any results. He says this, of course, because he was angry that Amy supported Agnes. Mechika says that they have two different views, and that in order to survive, they need to unite. Then Agnes grabs Rin's hand, offering to leave, but she also refuses, wanting to stay. Agnes does not understand why everything turned out like this and leaves alone. Mi-chan is happy again that he was able to manipulate everyone. Later, Agnes and Amy try to open the locks. The girl tries to say something, but June shouts at her, asking her to be quiet. He went to the toilet to calm down, when suddenly the door began to open. Picking up a razor blade and going outside, he meets Rin. At first, having frightened him with her appearance from behind, the gothic girl suddenly begins to undress. But Agnes is more interested in why she betrayed him. He offers her to escape together, but immediately wonders how she got here without a key at all. Did someone let her in? Probably the killer. He asks these questions, but the girl says it's a secret. His confidence level is falling. Then he remembers that her notebook got into his room earlier, and since he discussed it with Michika, he begins to think that he is the ranger in quotes. He asks Rin what their plan is with Michin. Suddenly starting to roar, Rin pounces on Agnes and sits on top. Saying that she will not deceive him with her tears, Agnes cuts her throat. Picking up Rin's notebook from the floor, he sees all those entries in which he is mentioned in a good way. And in particular, that if something happens to him, Rin will not be able to live without him anymore. Hugging her body, he realizes that he can't get rid of her. Picks up, takes his room, and begins to undress. And now he loves her and wants to stay with her forever. When he wakes up, he wishes her good morning and goes to wash the blood off things. He takes her notebook and asks Ellen to write a note, then he leaves his beloved. Junji's backstory begins. 3 years ago, he and almost the whole company, plus someone named Sen, inspected the Kodoku place, in which Michik from the first video participated, even before the incident at school. There they also met a guy who calls himself Michik. Agnes shines with knowledge at the meeting, which begins to interest Mitch. There, Darkhaired reveals some details to Okadoku that one cult was in decline due to a rival cult, and Ranji cursed those who locked him up. The leader of the circle was Tsuin, but soon rumors began to spread about him and he disappeared, and Junya, that is Agnes, became the leader. All this with a light hand, Michiki. While Agnes is reading a book about necrophilia, a letter comes to the chat with a video from the school where Kodokus Reiji was held. The video angers him, and he realizes that he has to influence the rest of the circle members, who are carried too far. One of the unknown participants wants to post a video on the channel of their occult circle. Agnes strongly opposed. Mechikov inserts his 5 kopecks. They say that the desire to look at this from a safe distance is normal. We're going back to the present. Agnes changed his mind about going out, but Michik came to him right away. Since the leader did not come to meet him, he decided to check on him. Agnes replies that she will come down now, gets dressed, puts a piece of paper in the door so that if anything happens, she can understand whether someone has entered his room or not. At the meeting, Amy immediately says that Rin has stopped attending them. Then Agnes shows a note in which she asks to be left alone for a while. Michika asks if it's really Klin's handwriting. It's unclear why Vi starts screaming and turns away to sleep. Amy asks Junji to stay behind to discuss V's security. The blonde guy says it doesn't make sense anymore. He tries to leave again, but Amy stops him again to discuss the possibility of leaving the hotel. Agnes realizes that then he will only have one night with Rin. Aloud, he asks Amy not to discuss the escape with her, allegedly because the criminals will not allow this very escape. Then the girl said that she will discuss this with Rin. Agnes convinces that he will talk to her himself because she will listen to him. He walks into his room with the words "I'm home." We see a bloody body with dried blood. He puts food in her hand and promises that no one will be allowed to touch her. Suspecting Mitch, Agnes starts searching her room. There he finds a listening device. So far, he does not attach much importance to this, wanting to spend more time with the gothic girl. Meanwhile, Michik takes out a stun gun from his stash. A little later, Michin and Agnes meet in the hallway. The second one shows him the wiretap and asks if he installed it. Michik starts to scour his own and also finds a wiretap. Then Agnes asks directly, "How much do you know?" Hearing what in response, turns around and leaves. Michiko begins to suspect that the blonde has some kind of secret. Amy enters the room and meets Michika there, who is rummaging through her things. He shows the wiretap and says that he was looking for a receiver from her. Reflecting on Agnes' strange behavior, Michika, using the master key, opens the door to Rin's room. He doesn't find it there, but he sees scrawled inscriptions. Darkhaired searches her room, but the wire is not. Suddenly, when he sees untouched water, he wonders, where did Rin go? What are you doing here? Agnes appears behind him. Michik replies that he was just worried about the girl. Junji says that she is in his room and confesses that he and Rin love each other. Michin understands that Agnes is dangerous. Seeing that he had closed the exit with him, the dark-haired man reached into his pocket, preparing to use a stun gun. Agnes claims that he came here to get food for Rin, and says that it is not worth going into other people's rooms without permission. Then he leaves, thinking that something needs to be done with Michiko. Meanwhile, the curious Michik realizes that he needs to get into his friend's room at all costs. Agnes is in her room. He tells Rin that he brought her a drink. His already poisoned imagination draws the girl as if she is alive and responds to him. He talks to her as if nothing had happened. When he says he will protect her, we see the same bloody picture. June also understands that Michiki has a weapon, which means that he also needs to come up with something. The blonde man is thinking about sleeping pills. With it, he can beat even a guy like Mecha. He calmly comes to Amy's room while she is changing clothes and begins to prowl in search of sleeping pills. To the question for what? Our gold medalist of the award does not fall asleep in order to put everyone to sleep. Amy sees that he is not himself and puts Agnes on her bed. She kisses him and the chorus begins. In the process, he repeats the name Rin and then looks at Amy and asks, "Who are you?" He's leaving. Only Michika, V and Amy come to the morning meeting. She says she's worried about Agnes because he's not himself. And Vi has already run out of the allocated portion of water and food. He says he feels bad, has a headache all the time, and asks for help. Agnes goes in search of a new weapon against Michika. He comes and sees that a piece of paper fell out of the door. That is, that someone came into the room. It seems that there are no obvious differences in Junji's room, but he still understands that he has no choice, and that night, he is going to kill everyone. He's making a trap out of the rope, but in the meantime, he's going to spend some more time with Lin. Suddenly, Agnes sees everyone alive and realizes that this is the first day, even before the doors were locked. He sees Rin and turns to her, hugs her, and asks her to leave the hotel with him. Goth refuses, saying that Reiji won't let June go. June wakes up. At first he can't find Rin's body, which causes him to panic. But then he finds it. It dawns on him that someone snuck into his room and put sleeping pills in a bottle, which is why he saw that strange dream. Obviously, because of this, he is practically unable to move. The door opened. The flashlight switched on. Thinking that he killed his beloved and should be punished, Agnes accepts her fate. He says thank you to the killer, but then sees the saw. They tie his mouth with duct tape. The saw is directed towards the Kochiks. Agnes wanted to die quickly and easily, but the end was monstrous. At noon, Michik comes to Agnes, but he does not open. Then he enters himself and explodes with laughter in the form of two severed heads on the bed. Michin guesses that Rin killed Agnes, judging by the difference in the degree of decomposition. He first takes Lin's head, and then throws it back on the bed, apologizing to Junji for defiling his girlfriend. For a moment, Michiki is no longer having fun. At the meeting, the dark-haired man says that Agnes was not in the room. He thinks that someone from the audience is the killer. Then he suggests going to the 4th floor to where the former prisoner lives. He begins to blame the prisoner for what is happening. 5 refuses. Michiko says that if Agnes is on the 4th floor, then he may be in danger. Vi doesn't fully understand, and then Michiko gives the command to proceed. To the accompaniment of V, "Hey, Amy, what are you doing? Hey, stop it." Michin starts snapping the girl in front of the poor guy. Michin says that Amy is exactly that kind of girl, and then blows quotes into him rap Arabic persuasion. That is, he knows what happened between them. All 3 of them go upstairs in the form of bloody footprints. V sends Amy first to open the door to the room of the captive who went. The girl opens the door and sees a monstrous picture. They see blood all over the room. The bed on which Katsu's body is lying, and with a bare 5th point. Limbs are scattered all over the room. On the left, Agnes' headless body is also cut off below the waist. On Eiji's headless body sits a captive who eats giblets and strokes her belly like a pregnant woman. It's Eiji's head, which she put under her t-shirt. Vi immediately runs out of the room. The captive pays attention to the guests and slowly approaches the girl, who froze when she saw her own child in her head. The one who went jumps on Amy, grabbing her shoulder with her teeth. Mitch is also heading for the exit. After looking at Agnes' remains for the last time and holding out her hand, Amy said, "Finally, we can leave with him." Mechik ran away. He starts shaking with laughter. V, meanwhile, falls to the ground, not believing what he saw. This view awakens some memories in him. Memories that make it clear to us that Vi is Saiga Reiji, our main character from the previous part. The prisoner went to look for the others. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Michik goes upstairs where he finds Amy's headless body. He understands that he wants to see this scene again. He wants to set the prisoner on Vi. Michin comes to Vi and says that the watchman has come and the police are already on the way. As soon as the guy comes out, Michika brings a taser to his neck, but Reiji immediately hits him in the side. Putting on a hood, he turns to Michiki with a question. It was he who arranged the kodoku and demands to let him out. Michin delighted because in front of him he Segura Reiji. I see he denies it. Before us is a picture of a patient in a ward. We learn that the guy has dissociative amnesia, that is, partial traumatic memories have been erased from his life. He doesn't remember ever killing anyone. Michik asks Vera to tell from his point of view how Kodoku passed. He refuses, but says he can't forget the taste of human flesh. After these words, Reiji hits him on the head, sits on top of him, and begins beating him with a demand to let him out. At this time, Michika only thinks about how much Reiji disappointed him. The beatings are over. Suddenly, a former prisoner appears and bites the index and middle fingers on her left hand. At first, he suffers from pain, and then tastes his blood, remembering the smell. The captive sneaks up to bite Reiji, but the guy knocks her out with a stun gun. Then, he takes the string out of his pocket and finishes off the cannibal, exactly as he finished off the tap from the first part. Earlier, he demands to release him again, but the guy refuses because the Kodoku is not yet completed. Vera got even angrier, saying that he killed and ate for survival, and someone like Michik could not cope with him. Then Michin uses the same rope trap that Junji made to catch Reiji, and he succeeds. Now the organizer Kodoku has the initiative, and he admits that he decided long ago that he would kill only the last survivor. Having tied Reiji hand and foot, Michika says that there will be no help for about 2 more weeks and leaves. He finds the wiretapping receiver in Rei's room. Then he tries to understand who killed whom, and to understand who is responsible for Ag's death. At the same time, he takes pictures of that terrible picture on the 4th floor. He has a few riddles left to solve. The first one is who hung up the new locks, and who hung Amy on the first day. And is it also possible that someone also secretly organized this Kodoku, except for Minchiki himself? He returns to the ridge with water and asks how the guy found out about this event. He confesses that he received a message that there are girls in this circle. That is, in the occult circle, lone Reiji was looking for a girl. He further asked Reiji is responsible for the locks, and he hung Amy. He denies, continuing to say that he is actually Sakiyama Shinga. Michiko says that he will give Vip a drink if he touches his lips to the chest of the former captive. Having fulfilled the conditions, Reiji is poured to drink, but he spits out the rotten water from the toilet back. Then Michika takes off Reiji's pants, showing the needle and reminding that it is Kodoku. Siguro Reiji begs for forgiveness in tears and then starts screaming. The backstory of Michiki begins. His name is Ilya, and he is an educated child with the best grades at school. Puffy believes that everything around is ticks, but he is different. That, and the extra care not about him, but about his older brother, leads to an adult that scares even parents. His search for new entertainment introduces him to Yukitoshi. He shows Minchik photos of his first victim and tells him that he was offered to take part in Kodoku. After which he invites Minchik to join. But before that you need to pass 2 tests. The first is to lock yourself in an abandoned building and get out of it as the only survivor. After killing the cat and eating it, Michik passes the test. The second is to kill a person. On the street, Michik sees a guy who is looking for his girlfriend. He leaves him a letter saying that he knows where his soulmate is. By a happy coincidence, he leads the poor guy to an abandoned building, very similar to the one where Marie died from the first part. He uses a taser on the range and is about to kill him, when suddenly someone appears from behind and knocks him out. This is the detective from the last part, who is Marie's father, and the one who dragged Reiji to the first Kodoka. When Michika regains consciousness in the hospital, he realizes that he failed the test and now will not get to Kodoka at school. He waits for Yuki to win too, intending to kill King Kodoku, but in the end Reiji wins the survival game. We're in the present, where Michiga tells the dead Reiji that she can't believe it was him. Ria dreamed of defeating Yukitosh, but he killed Reiji, who defeated his target. Mitch goes to the exit. He opens the door and looks at the blinding sun with the thought that now he is the King Kodoka. Decides to take a last look at the photos of the bodies and notices something strange. He is confused by something in the bodies of the twins. He finally understands the meaning of beheading. Mitch opens his eyes. It was all a dream. His bottle of water, too, was sleeping. He himself is on the top floor, tied up on that ill-fated bed. Next to it, the heads of the others are laid out in a row. He sees someone enter the room with Sigur Reiji's severed head. This is Amy. The headless body on the floor was not hers, but the one that Amy had hidden with her clothes. The prisoner only grazed her shoulder when she attacked her. She was behind everything all this time. Mitch is trying to stall for time and find out more. She did the hanging herself the day after her arrival. Thus, she immediately put on a veil the victim and made this scene a trigger to force others to survive. Amy drugged everyone when she tied up AG. She killed Katsu, she sent Lin to Agnes. In general, Amy is behind everything. And she also admits that she is also Reiji, and says that there was another kodoku in which V and she survived, but that kodoku failed. Amy's backstory begins. Her relationship with her husband soured after they lost a child. They divorced, and then she was left alone. The cult found her and took her in. There she also met the original Michika and learned more about kodoku. Amy was given a special role in the cult. She was supposed to be a mother to a child who survived by a miracle. It was the same child. The child of Edgar Reiji and Marie in parallel tell us a little more about the fate of the cult. After completing kodoku at school, the cult fell into decline due to the death of the ageless Michika. Many followed her. The police launched an investigation, but many sectarians fled. 2 years later, the girl grew up. The cult began to see her as a replacement for Michik, to notice that the girl was special. All the time, she asks her mother to show a photo of them together, which she constantly carries with her. The cult lord comes and says that Tawaka, the daughter, will be a miracle, that she will become the next queen of poison after kodoku. They didn't wait. Another kodoku took place in the same abandoned school. Little Tawaka, Amy, another cultist who will help them, a bunch of strangers, and Sigura Reiji, who lost his memory after the last kodoku. According to the idea, they should kill everyone, and finally become food for Tavik themselves. In the end, he removed Reiji and realizes that he no longer wants to die. He finds a door, which you can use to leave the school, and invites Amy to escape. Amy can't betray the cult, so after getting a knife in her hands, she swings at the cultist, but during the blow, Tawaka jumps up in front of her. Then she kills the cultist, who tries to stop the girl's blood, and tries to kill himself so that the daughter will eat. Then she notices that Weed is alive. The guy gets out through the hatch, and yes, how many exits does this building have, and where were they all in the first part? Sectarians immediately come to the building, and the Lord says that the Tawaka was not real. The cult is retreating from Amy. Then she begins to shred them in an attempt to escape. On the way out, she locks the doors in front of the Lord. Amy is about to take her daughter to the hospital, but the child utters his last words. We return to the scene, and from the very beginning with the police. The charges against Reiji were dropped because there was no way he could have participated. On the phone, they are informed that sectarians have appeared, or rather Amy, who came to their station. In the present, Amy interrupts her story by starting cooking using different ingredients. Michik admits to himself that he was not the puppeteer or the director of all this. He sees hallucinations, the main one of which is Yukitoshi, who says that Michika wasn't even a bug. His expression has changed, and Annie is happy to say that he has finally joined Kadak, and now she will be able to complete it. Continuing to cook, she says the thought that Leah himself expressed at the beginning of the story, and which has been repeated more than once. Fear, hate, pain, agony, all destructive emotions are important in kodoku to make the curse stronger. To complete the cooking, one more ingredient is needed: Michika. Turning him over on his stomach, Amy positioned the saw on his coccyx. He screamed in pain. When she got what she wanted, she gave Ria a try. Michika understands what pisses him off about Amy, what she all the time was weak, and that her control tries to overcome the fear. Actually, like Ria himself, and he admits it. Now the guy begins to pour that she is afraid of loneliness, and that it will not bring her daughter back. And she says she deserves a real hell. Amy rejoices at these words and makes a final revelation. The one she wants to curse is herself. And it was to hell that she was going. Cooking is finished. She takes a frying pan and pours all the contents on it. A hot dish melts the face. Michiko tries to hold back the tears. Then Amy remembers the story she told in the beginning, about the child who smiled in the photo, but after death his face was distorted by a grimace of agony. She admits that this is her story, and that a psychic told her that the child had gone to hell. We are back in the flashback, which continues the escape of Amy and her child from school. She hugs the chilled child and sees a photo in which Tabik's face is distorted. Then she starts eating her daughter. Amy asks Michiko she's really going to be able to go to hell, when will the Kadoka, and shows him the photo. Michik was reconciled. When Amy puts the saw to his neck, he draws her attention and says, "Go straight to hell." The girl smiled. With pleasure. Michika's head joined the others. Kodoku is completed. Amy throws up her hands and begs to be taken to hell. So, by the time the police found the hotel, and meets a much more monstrous picture than in school when the incident 3 years ago. And they also find an emaciated Amy holding a photo. After a while, we see that Amy did not go to hell, but to prison. A policeman comes to her. The girl asks him to let her go, because she needs to go to hell to help his daughter. The policeman shows a photo. "Your daughter with a sweet smile on her face," he says. Finally, she reiterates that she needs to go to hell to her daughter, but now adds that doesn't want to be alone. The end. Amy will never get out of prison. She got her own personal hell. Just think about it. It's all the fault of a woman who told a psychic that her child is in a fiery hyena. So many people died because Amy decided to go to hell. Truly, the devil begins with the back on the lips of an angel who has entered into battle for a wholly just cause. Now let's discuss what we just read. I have reread this story several times. The first time I read it, I spat from every page, especially from the first half of the manga. For the second time, I realized that there was something in her after all. If the first part was a survival game that tried to hide its sobriety, then the Hotel of Suffering is already a natural torsion. With notes of slasher, there used to be certain rules of interaction that created an atmosphere for the characters and put pressure on their psyche. Here at first, there is no atmosphere of dejection because no one kidnapped anyone and kodoku itself is perceived as a game. Certain areas of the hotel are shown, but there is no understanding of the layout of the building. If at school we understood that until the ritual ends, it will not break out, then here the brain itself asks to finish the picture. Is there really no access to the roof in a hotel with at least 4 floors? All windows are covered with armored glass with bars and from everything that can be found in the hotel. You cannot try to knock down the locks. There is no timer as in the first part, and the passage of time is somehow too sparsely felt. Therefore, it is even more difficult to understand here how long this kodoku lasted. And from here it also seems that the characters killed themselves even faster than in the first part. There is no timer, but there is a Schrodinger's watchman who will either come in 2 weeks or not come at all. In the first part, I was surprised that the characters started going wild too quickly, but I couldn't even imagine that it could be overtaken too quickly. The most ardent example is Junji, aka Agnes. All the time, the kitty twin did not behave quite adequately, and she scared him. Agnes did not have any feelings for her, as he himself said repeatedly. At the same time, as a leader, he looked like the most positive character. But after the death of Rei, he begins to show kindness to the gothic girl, and suddenly after the death of Iron, falls in love, and begins to enter into a coit with her. What the hell? How did his behavior model change so dramatically so quickly after just one trigger? And it is I who am silent about the fact that Amy suddenly began to love Agnes. Yes, so much so that she accidentally created a small, but still a hole. With his last phrase, addressed to his headless body, "We can finally leave together." After this phrase, her motivation to win in kodoku, in order to avenge her daughter, begins to fade a little. After all, such a strong desire did not work when she allegedly died and said these words. In fact, in general, it looks as if the author actually tried to kill Amy, but then I thought, how can I stretch the series to add the chapters and such, or maybe it's Amy's fault. The question actually applies to all the characters, but I don't think it makes sense to ask them all, because the dumbest thing you can do is accept strangers. Oh yes, I'm talking about getting to know Katsuya and Eiji. Look, you are going to go to an abandoned house with your friends and see how a classic redneck and a jock comes out of there. Are you going to get tough with them? And what do you think they were doing there? Did you play chess? An abandoned love hotel with a bad reputation is not the best place to meet such people. But the icing on the cake among the characters is 6, but rather Seigura Reiji main character of the previous part. And now Reiji is a joke if Harry Potter the boy who lived, Seigura Reiji the boy who goof. You will simply appreciate the scale of his tragedy. The guy was kidnapped and forced to survive at school. He survived by eating dead meat for 2 months. Then he lost his memory and went back to the same school. Then he voluntarily came to the pseudo-kadoka where he became a victim of Rin and finally threw back his skates. And I'm not talking about the fact that Ilya almost killed him before the start of the first kodoku. Here, by the way, there was one plot question. I personally gave up on him and didn't bother because I was already mentally tired of this story and decided to take it as a convention. But I will be glad if you express yourself in the comments. So look, Amy participated in kodoku with V before Love Hotel. But he doesn't remember her because what? Did he lose his memory twice? After the first kodoku and after the second. Lost your memory twice. But that's okay. Let's move on. In the first chapter, the police find a child with a pitted stomach. This is the daughter that Amy ate. She did it after she and 5 ran away. The police are discussing theories, wondering if it could have been Ega Reiji. And they throw it away because the guy has just been discharged from the hospital. Except Reiji was there after all. The only explanation is that he went to the hospital after the first kodoku and lost his memory. And as soon as he was discharged, he immediately got to the second kodoku and lost his memory again. It is so stitched together with white threads that the reader himself has to think about how the circumstances worked, which rather gives the impression that the author has not fully thought through this moment. Regarding everything else, everything that I said in the previous video regarding the first part applies here. So all I can do is start repeating myself. But the author again focused on cruelty and was able to make it much more repulsive than in the previous work. Both the degree itself and the level of graphicity have increased. He seems to be saying, "Oh, it seemed to you that the first part was cruel, but look and compare. I simply couldn't insert most of the frames, even if I wanted to." Sexual contacts have also become more frequent. If in the first part, it all came down to the fact that Akana was fed in this way, that he was under severe stress. Then here the author is just trying to form an attachment between the characters or integrates it into cruelty. The backstories of the heroes in this part are even weaker than in the first one. The author has tried, except that over and over Michi Amy, around which in fact, and there is the whole of his narrative. Therefore, most of the murders are not touched, because the characters for the most part feel like dummies. But this is if we talk about the fact of their death. After all, their death can still shock the faint-hearted. Of course, at the expense of the method of killing the suffering suffered, and what was done with them later. The story was very niche, and I think that will go even fewer people. Despite the fact that the first part was stuffy, the second one quickly begins to gain momentum. I liked that the author decided to reveal a little more details about the sect and its inner workings. A little more sense was given to everything that happened in the first part. And I won't hide it, I was a little pleased that Amy managed to get Michika to lay a smug face, and regret for throwing oil on the fire to Kodoku. And in addition, at the very end Michiki had the courage to leave on his own terms. At the same time, it is worth noting that the change of the survival paradigm to a mysterious killer has created an intrigue that clings much more strongly than in the first part. In the first part, when someone died, we knew who was involved in it. Here, the killer either did not show up, or adjusted the circumstances in such a way that, regardless of his intentions towards the subject at a particular moment, it always played into his hands anyway, with their own hands or with the help of manipulations. This is a great move, because the work engages the reader, forcing him to think about who is behind all this. And that made Sammy's twist unexpected. Of course, this story will not fall into either the favorite category, or the advice category, or any other. And it is unlikely that it will ever become a reason for discussion in my circle. But I can definitely say that reading The Hotel is a rather unusual and entertaining experience for me. Write in the comments, how do you like the second part? Did you like it or not? It will be very interesting to know your opinion. And I'm saying goodbye to you until next week. I love everyone and bye to everyone.